I'm Kevin Stevens, a native Pensacolian, husband, father, and U.S. Navy veteran. But that's not what this is about. I'm a local businessman who has owned many successful companies over the years. But it's not about this either. Recently, I ran for public office and was elected to a seat on the ECUA Board of Commissioners. So what's this about? It's about an elected official who will serve his community and hold his fellow elected officials accountable. All while making local government more transparent. Join me in making Pensacola a better place to live, work, and play. So welcome to another episode of On the Board with Kevin Stevens. So today we've got newly appointed County Commissioner District 4, Miss Ashley Hoffberger. Welcome, Ashley, and congratulations on your appointment, as well as candidate for District 1, Mr. Steve Strohberger. Welcome, both of you guys. As we're getting into this interview, just like to chat with you real quick, Steve. Were you a little bit surprised? I mean, you kind of hit the hardest part over the fence with the Republican nomination against an incumbent. Were you a little bit surprised about the overwhelming response you got?
I wasn't as surprised as everybody else was. You know, I know he was an incumbent. I know he'd won 6 prior elections and that, but when I talked to folks, and Gina talked to folks, and Glenn Conrad, and all the others that helped me, the reception was very, very good.
Well, and clearly the numbers showed that. I mean, what was it? What was the final shakeout? Like over 50%.
Yeah, 54.
Yeah. So, like I said, that's that speaks volumes right there. And like I said, I think people in your district were just ready for a change. They were ready to kind of out with the old, in with the new, and then I don't want to get started on the Melrose Place episodes that's been indicative of the county commission, here lately, which I'm sure which is part of the reason you all ran.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot more of a even kill board, and it's probably going to be really boring for the reporters out there compared to what it's been in the past.
Yeah.
But it's going to be really positive for the community, and that's what we want.
I've heard, and I've said this a few times, let's make Escambia boring again.
I like it.
Yeah. Let's not make it too exciting.
Yeah, well, it's funny as sitting on the ECUA board myself, we say that like that's our shtick, right?
Yeah.
Is we're kind of there's nothing super exciting about garbage, water, and sewer, sanitation, recycling, but it's a necessity. But ours are pretty, I would say, boring. I could easily use that adjective to describe our board meetings, but very civil, and so it's going to be nice to bring a lot of civility back to the board right now, and just kind of have it even keeled, and like you said, and just giving the folks of Escambia County, a voice,
and
in
just
their governance.
Respect for each other. I mean, I feel like we can vote against each other on something, and as long as we have a reasonable explanation for that we can each understand, that'll make sense, and then we can vote together on the next thing. And I don't think that that's a respect that's been allotted to the current members on the board.
No, it definitely hasn't been. And you're right about that. I think we can agree on some things, and some things we won't agree on. And we're living in different districts, but we all represent the same county. And so I'm always thinking about not just my district. I'm also thinking about the county, and that might mean what benefits District 4.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's it. It's community over everything else. And if we're going to move forward, we have to move forward together as a community and not as these little pods that we're districted off into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's important. And I tell folks the same thing. And we had that prior to the show, Ashley, we're talking about is I'll get a call from someone in districts 1, 2, 3, or 4, and I don't not answer their phone call or their question. I'm like, look, it's an ECUA issue. I can easily handle it for you. I can pick up the phone, get you in touch with the correct, department head and get that resolved. So, and you all are going to be the same way. I mean, like I said, we're one Escambia County, and like I said, a lot of big projects on the horizon, just kind of moving into the OLF project. I mean, that's I know that's overlapping, but that's a huge project, and in your district. And I'm speaking, I always say there's power in the word. So as a Christian myself, there's power in the word. I believe that with every fiber of my being. So I'm going to say, when when you get elected. But like I said, that's been a big hot topic. Goodness gracious, for quite a while right now, and there's just so many different different opinions and different projects and different hands in the proverbial cookie jar. But to your point, you said earlier, Ashley, is yes, everybody's going to benefit from that. It's not just going to be District 4. It's
Right.
it's all the districts, because whatever's built there and whatever's going to be whatever everybody's going to be.
Well, I think Navy
affected from
Fed's
that.
a huge example of that, because Navy Fed's, that's in your district, and that's something that impacts our entire community. It's one of the top 5 employers in the county, and without Navy Fed out there, I mean, not only would our county be suffering, but our neighboring counties as well.
So what's your thought on the OLF?
So OLF 8 does affect the whole county, definitely. The community at OLF 8, Nature's Trail and those neighborhoods over there in Beulah, they are directly affected.
100%.
So if you looked at the district map, my district map, District 1, I won big in the south, and I won big in the north, and in the middle, it was pretty even. But I guess when you're a politician, you shouldn't be making promises. But I owe them for my win.
Absolutely.
And what I told them was that I will make sure, because I have said to them that, talking to them and talking to DPZ about the master plan, trying to get up to speed on that subject. I had spoken at one of their meetings about OLF 8. It wasn't for me. It was just a discussion about OLF 8, and I told them that I wouldn't live there. I wouldn't live there, not the way it's designed right now, the way the plan is, the way they want to do it. Because when I move from place to place, a military guy, we look for good schools. We look for good schools, and we look for good neighborhoods to raise our kids. And I didn't want to live next to all that light industrial. I wouldn't live next to all that light industrial. Now, the town center and all that stuff, and I've argued this for a while now, is I think the definition of light industrial is pretty broad, and we need to do a better job of defining that so people know what exactly is coming there. And
Right.
because
Yeah, just transparency, because that is very, to your point, Steve, very ambiguous to say light industrial,
Right.
Yeah, nobody knows what that means. I mean, we have a better
but-
definition of what it means ourselves, but I mean, it could be Navy Federal, it could be an Amazon distribution center.
Well, and even within that, there's difference between a warehouse space and a distribution center. So that's a huge gap.
And then you're dealing with the traffic, and that's that's been the age-old issue that you all are going to be dealing with, that I've been dealing with, for the last 4 years is infrastructure, and of course the lack thereof, right? Either inadequate infrastructure, or just substandard, old, failing infrastructure, whether it be water, sewer, or whatever the case may be, or not having those services. So it's the same thing. It's like everybody knows we need. I don't think there's not a board member on whether it be the ECUA or the Board of County Commissioners who would say we've got adequate infrastructure.
Right.
Who would argue against better infrastructure? It just boils down to how do you pay for it. I had, and that's the challenge, and then like you said, Steve, in your District 1, just giving folks a voice, who are the people most impacted. I know you all are both that way. It's just that guides your direction.
I know Ashley's been having the same discussions with constituents, and it's about infrastructure. It's about those important issues, the EMS and resources. Those are important to us too. I mean, she lives a lot closer to the hospitals, and she's had issues. You live in District 5. A lot of people are way out of the loop in District 5.
I can tell you on District 5, like I said, Stephen is gracious enough, to invite me to the town halls, and so I'm there to answer any ECUA related water, sewer, garbage questions or so forth. But I went to the last one, and wow. I mean, you had folks there, sons, daughters, advocating on behalf of their elderly parents, like why did it take 2
An hour and a
hours,
half?
3, or sometimes closer to 2 hours, or wrong directions, or when they did get there, it was bad. And then I remember this gentleman getting up and and we're all sons and daughters, and advocating on behalf of his dad, saying my dad almost died waiting for an ambulance to get there. And so it's a real problem.
Well, and I think when we talk about infrastructure and public safety, we have to make those things a priority. And before we fund the fun projects and the exciting projects and the cool stuff that makes the front of the newspaper, we've got to make sure that our first responders have what they need and that we have the infrastructure to get to and from work. And it might not be exciting and cool, but it's what needs to happen, and it needs to be a top priority to the entire board.
And that's going to be one of you all's challenges is how this is all great. 100% agree with what you said. How do we pay for it?
Yeah.
And we understand where the money comes from, right? It comes from us. It comes from everybody in this room and everybody out there. And I can tell you, at the end of the day, you're voting for some type of rate increase or some additional sales tax, whatever the case may be. And then of course as being a veteran myself, like you'd always say, these civilians, don't see the other end of it, but somebody's got to pay for it, and everybody wants it, just nobody wants to pay for it. I mean, we raised rates a few months ago, $3, I think $3.25 is what it averaged a month. Oh my God. My wife's like, why are you doing this? The hate mail, this, that, the whole deal. Yeah. You all are going to be voting on like sales tax. I mean, half cent here, half cent there. Where is it going? Who's managing it? Is it just enriching, or whose pockets are they lining up? I mean, it's interesting.
For $3.25, yeah.
For $3.25, and you all are going to be voting on stuff way more expensive to the taxpayers than that.
Well, I think that's somewhere that the board has either not placed a priority on before, or maybe failed at, is explaining to the community, okay, maybe you're not getting this new playground or this new whatever, but we put 10 more law enforcement officers on the road this month. How awesome is that? So making sure that they understand where those dollars are going and why they're maybe not getting the amenities or the maintenance that they're used to getting.
Right. Yeah. You got a lot to take care of already.
Yeah.
Right, and I think, and to your point, that's correct. I don't think the county does a good enough job, because I believe you all, I believe the incumbents right now want what's best for their community. Mm-hmm. I want to believe that. I want to believe that they want what's best for their community, because we all live here, we worship here, our children go to school here one time or another. So, but at the same time, how do we get to that? And there's not enough information to say, yes, we raised a half cent sales tax, or we did this or did that, but here's what you got for it. You got 10 more law enforcement officers. I mean, there should be some type of, we try to do that. I mean, we try to, on the ECUA side, hey, look, we raised it XYZ, but we just put in new sewer infrastructure in Brownsville. The fact that a lot of the folks that you don't understand, that they think you have sewer there. There's no way you don't have sewer on East Olive Road. Well, we don't have sewer on East Olive Road. I have an office here, and there's a Tesla plant down the road, and we're on septic.
Well, and to that point, a lot of people don't even understand that, because you have people like, I live in East Hill. Well, how does that affect me? Well, it does affect you, because that affects the water quality, and everything flows downstream, and that's why our bays aren't necessarily clean enough. So adding the sewer there really does help the entire community, and you've got to connect those dots for people, and that's huge. Thank you for making that happen.
Sure. Well, that's and then but again, letting people know when you all are when y'all are voting on something or getting something passed, and you form these coalitions, and it's for the good of the people, and it may not be, like you said, Ashley, the fancy new playground. But hey, we've just widened the roads. We've just paved this road, or we've just added sidewalks. We added a turn lane. Yeah. We've done this or that to improve the lives, and let people know that, versus where'd the money go. And I think that's a big problem, is people just don't know where the money went.
Right. And if you can show them. So I'm meeting with, emergency operations, and we're going to talk about how do we reduce our call time. So what is our call time now, and what are the steps to reducing that? And I want to be really transparent with the public on the steps that we're taking and how that's going to happen. And so when you pick up the phone to call 911, someone's going to be able to respond.
I think I read recently that nationwide the response time averages like 8 minutes. Mm-hmm. 8 minutes. Now, I know that we've had, I don't know how long you had to wait.
Mine was only 20, I say only, it was 24 minutes, which seems like a really long time when you don't know what's going on.
Especially as close as you are.
Yeah.
But I've heard 1 hour, 2 hour waits, even on the west side. I mean, on the west side, we got problems too. We got 2 lanes everywhere to get to this side of town. So, and
Well, and you talk about the long wait times. I recently had a good friend of mine hospitalized, and again, he was without oxygen. We don't know how long.
Yeah.
His mom, bless her heart, wasn't CPR certified like so many other people aren't. So if you're not, go get CPR certified. But I learned a lot just talking to the neurologist, and he was saying, look, you have that 7 to 10 minutes is that window. Your max is 7 to 10 minutes for the brain to be without oxygen. After 7 to 10 minutes, there is a high likelihood, and almost 100% likelihood, that there's going to be some severe brain damage. So, yeah, 24 minutes, 15 minutes, that's a long time to not have medical care there. I mean, again, we do the best we can do with the resources we have, but that requires more money. I mean, what we're talking about, it needs to happen, but it requires money. And and paying the folks, right? I mean, trying to stay competitive with the other neighboring counties and cities on what they're paying. I mean, we fight. Our biggest competitor at ECUA is the city of Pensacola. I mean, that's our number one competitor when it comes to wages, right? So we've got, if they're 50 cents more an hour, $1 more an hour, whatever the case may be, we're going back and forth, and we don't want to lose garbage haulers to the city. And we're all one community, but at the same time, you gotta pay people competitive wages.
yeah, when I talked to the firefighter union, and I'm glad you brought this up, I'm
Yeah.
going to talk about that. And they told me that new firefighters are making less than $14 an hour starting out. And one guy, I don't know, he told me he'd been with the fire department 14 years. He was making 16 something an hour. I thought that was outrageous.
Yeah, when you can go to Chick-fil-A and make 20.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I compared it to. So I own the washroom, and one of the candidate forums we had, I said the people who wash and fold your laundry are being paid more than your firefighters are being
Yes,
paid.
I remember that. That was good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to
And that's
talk
wild.
about. Yeah.
Right. But again, where do we get the money from? Right? Something is going up
Yeah.
to get the money from that. And I can't imagine people having an issue with with paying our first responders
Yeah,
a
we
higher
want
wage.
Well, and you need
firefighters.
you need a new fire station out in your area.
We
At least
do.
one more.
Yeah, we definitely do. That would just be an economic boom for that. It's roughly, what is it? It's Bower, it's Lillian, it's that area on Highway 98 that they used to have that fire. What was it called? It was a volunteer fire department. It was Paradise Beach. That's what it was. And I met people out there who's went from $2,000 a year for their insurance to over $7,000. So, and that's not the only guy. I mean, he had a big piece of property, but everybody was affected by that. So we put a new firehouse out there for less than $8.5 million.
Right.
We put another firehouse out there. Everybody's going to benefit from there, and it'll benefit District 2 too.
Right. So right now we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Extreme Pumping and Septic. Septic system services, lift station services, storm drain jetting, grease trap cleaning, and more. Extreme Pumping and Septic is your portable toilet rental headquarters for Baldwin, Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa. Got an extreme emergency? Extreme Pumping and Septic has 24/7 emergency services 7 days a week. Extreme Pumping and Septic is the only septic company in our area with financing options. Call now or book online at extremepumpingandseptic.net.
Hi, I'm Sean McCorkle with Genesis Land and Title. What makes a great title company? Forbes magazine says that a good title company does two things well. They coordinate the transaction efficiently and they provide remarkable customer service. You know, there are few things worse than poor customer service when you are spending your hard-earned money. Our professional and friendly team will go above and beyond to ensure that your closing experience is as pleasant and stress-free as possible.
At Florida Insurance Agency, we have enough available resources to insure just about anything in Florida at the best rates. With dozens of companies to choose from, you don't just get a policy, you get the best policy for you. That means savings and comfort, knowing you are covered. We're only a local phone call away, and you can stop by any of our 3 offices anytime for assistance. Florida Insurance Agency. Our policy is great service.
Extreme Fleet Maintenance is a complete hydraulic and diesel servicing company for the Gulf Coast region. specializing in Ford Power Stroke, Dodge Cummins, Chevy Duramax, and all diesel. We work on light and heavy-duty vehicles, forklifts, hydraulics, generators, warehouse, and farm equipment. Our emergency services are 24/7. When you need us, we are there. Call us at 850-972-8087.
So welcome back to On the Board with Kevin Stevens. So again, just took a short commercial break, meeting with newly appointed Miss Ashley Hofberger and Mr. Steve Stroberger. Again, we're gonna say power in the word. We're gonna say when you get elected, we're pulling for you. But again, we were just talking about some issues. I think we were going everything from infrastructure to the OLF project. I think we were just talking about fire stations and how some unintended benefits, so not consequences, but benefits to having a fire station in your area and in your area as well,
Right.
and how that not only gives you I would think the no-brainer benefit of having emergency services and fire department in close proximity. God forbid your home caught on fire, you had a medical emergency. So that's kind of the obvious benefits of having a fire station. Some of the other ones that folks don't think about, and if I have a good friend of mine in insurance, I probably wouldn't think about it either, is the decrease or the lower premium that you may be eligible for having a fire station in close proximity, which benefits everybody. So those are just, like I said, benefits. And I know you've been pushing for those as well, and been pushing as well as getting additional EMT and emergency services in your areas.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Paradise Beach, we had talked a little bit about this in the break, but I wanted to make sure everybody understood this. It's they went from an ISO rating. I think this was about 6 or 7 years ago. When they lost that fire department, and they went from an ISO rating of 4 to a 10. 10's the worst, and the rates went up. They went crazy. So there are a lot of people out there that are self-insuring, not just paying a lot, but there are people out there that are self-insuring. So
And folks that have a mortgage, that they don't have an option to self-insure. The mortgage company, you can get forced place insurance, or so those are kind of your options. But like I said, for sure. So and that's the deal. We start talking about that, and then we start talking about how we're paying for that, right? I mean, so I know I'm kind of coming back to that multiple times on how we're paying for
Well,
that.
and we have to take a good look at that. The last count had us pulling $10 million to fund the firefighters out of the general fund. So we really need to reevaluate how that money's being spent, because you need a fire station. District 5 needs another fire station. We need to up their pay, because the fact that they're making less than the people that work at Whataburger, love my Whataburger,
Right.
but they shouldn't be making more than our firefighters, and that's a problem. So we've really got to reevaluate all of that.
And again, that's just raising revenue. I mean, it just goes back to that situation. And again, in the interest of full transparency, where's the money going? Okay, I don't mind, donating some money. I don't mind paying some additional taxes if I know it's going to first responders,
I think it's
EMT,
been
sheriff's
13 years since we've done a rate increase on the MSBU tax. So, I mean, it's been a while.
And that's what, and then some of the other other hot buttons right now that go right along with infrastructure is building. You got all these folks are like build baby build, and we need the infrastructure prior to the building, but you need the tax rolls and the revenue that come from building. And I've had to correct folks several times on my show. We get questions that hey, are builders and developers paying their fair share? And I had to educate some folks on some local social media sites on we have pretty significant impact fees and tap fees, and of course you as a business owner are well aware of that, and you're well aware as well, quite a bit. There was a big point of contention, it's still in Santa Rosa County, about additional impact fees for the builders when they build a house. And I always correct people having interest in construction and development companies myself. I see both sides of it, from the finance end as well as the development end, and then of course as an elected official trying to manage those two hats I wear frequently, multiple hats. But I'm like, look, builders and developers could care less about impact fee. I had one of the commissioners say, Kevin, it's just be $5,000 a house. I'm like, make it 10. I won't say his name.
Yeah, because you're
He's
just
like,
passing it
"What?"
along.
I said, yeah, just make it 10. Well, no, we don't need to do no 10. A 5. No, make it 10 because you don't make a rip to us or to every other builder developer. They're going to pass it on to the homeowner,
Right.
to you, to your sons, to your daughters, to maybe you when you sell your house because you guys have done the right thing, paid your bills, got the equity in your house. You may want to sell that house and move to another one. You're going to pay in the $10,000. So not opposed to it. But it's not a one-stop shop. You got so many people parroting the whole impact fee is the end-all be-all. It's the magic pill. It solves everything. And I'm like, it doesn't. It doesn't solve everything. And first of all, it's not enough anyway. But anyway, I just want to go get on my tangent. You guys are going to be hearing the same thing too about impact fees. And I'm like, look, the biggest challenge I've gotten with folks, I've had builder developers come to me and say, Kevin, look, we're building our subdivision, here. The lift station is here. And so obviously we're going to have to pay to run the connection to it. Production should pay for production, builders should pay for build, developers pay for build. 100% agree. But they want us to run it from here to here to here. And I'm like, well, wait a sec. Well, and I know why. I mean, obviously we want to connect some of those folks. So we had a lot of cost sharing processes that we've put in place in working with our county partners to say, look, if you guys are doing new roads, sidewalks, road widenings, let's go ahead and partner up on this and let me run the sewer pipe or the water pipe here. Same thing with builders and developers.
We can save money doing that.
Yeah,
Whole
and
lot.
I had met with Vicki Campbell on the ECUA board, and that was one of the things that she had mentioned. And I was floored that there's not a shared calendar between road services and ECUA. If we're going to be in there tearing something up,
I'm
really
working
needs
on
to be,
it.
Hey, do you need to put anything in here while we're at it? And not only does it save money, like
Right.
Steve mentioned, but it's also way more convenient for that community. If you're having to drive through a construction zone every day, don't make those people do it twice.
Well, and then you all fight tooth and nail to get these projects in your prospective areas with that new road that you can tout. Hey, look, I got a road here. You've been asking for it. I delivered. And then have us come back, a year later and jackhammer up the asphalt, put patches and sidewalks and the whole deal. It's like, why didn't we communicate prior to that? And while you've already got the road opening up, the ditches, the channels run, let me just run my pipe in there. And so we do a lot better job now working with the local developers because in a lot of cases, the new subdivision obviously is running side by side or not very far from close proximity to existing subdivision. So, for conversation purposes, if they only need a 1.5 inch pipe, we're like, look, can you add a 2.5 inch pipe or a 3 inch pipe, whatever the case may be, and we'll pay the difference for the pipe. So same labor involved, same mobilization, same everything, but it just makes sense for us to not have a adversarial relationship, with these builders and developers who, but working together with them,
Right.
partners, because myself at ECUA, just like you, we use subs. I mean, most of our infrastructure work gets done by subcontractors. You all send it out to bid, we send it out to bid, which we get 3 bids. I mean, we get 3 bids in our area, I can tell you that right now. That's a hot button of mine, is to make sure we have 3 independent bids and we take lowest bidder, and so there's no wondering how or why so and so got a bid. But like I said, that's important. Same thing with grants. I know you guys have good grant writers. We've got some pretty good grant writers as well. But I think you guys probably could use, from what I understand, some additional grant writers to start looking for some of the state and federal support. And then the other challenge is, how do you, I keep going back, being the dead horse, how do you pay for it? I mean, ECUA, we got $11 million worth of grants, matching grants, i.e. we got to come up with another $11 million. So where does that money come from? So it's one of those situations where you send off, you request these grants and from the federal and state, which doesn't come out of the local pockets directly, indirectly through tax dollars, and then you figure out, okay, I got $11 million, now where am I getting $11 million? Because if I don't match it, I lose it.
Right.
So therein lies the challenge.
Raising rates.
What's that?
It's like raising rates.
It's like raising rates, so it is what it is, and you'll see that.
Well, I don't know how many people complain about that, because I know $3.50 or $3.25, whatever it was. People want more services,
Sure,
but they're not willing to pay for more services. I'm willing,
right.
Just like you said, I'm willing to pay for better services. That's what I want.
Oh, and I get my probably a number one call is a missed garbage pickup or something along those lines. So I get those calls and I'll answer it. And then I've got some folks yelling at me, these guys, I pay for 4 a week. I should get 4 a week. I said, man, absolutely you should. I'm 100% in agreement with you. I need to get rid of these guys. And if they can't find, I said, man, I've got 4 trucks sitting back there right now without any drivers. I said, so how many people would you like me to fire?
Yeah.
And just pause. Let me know, man. I say, listen, I work for you. I was elected by you. I work for you. You tell me how many of my employees, I got 75 open positions right now. So how many of those drivers would you like me to fire?
Yeah.
Do you really have 75 open positions?
We got we're running across the board, and it varies.
Wow.
I mean, we fluctuate. I think we may be down to like 40 some odd positions now. But yes, I mean, diesel mechanics. I mean, we've gotten a little bit better on our drivers. I mean, we have open positions from garbage haulers to office administrative staff to, again, back to the diesel mechanics. I think our average age for a diesel mechanic is like 58 years old. And I think we're down to 4 right now, and which is difficult to hire these guys. Yeah. I mean, it's a very skilled labor. Mm-hmm. It's a dirty job. I mean, working on these large trucks, and you can't get a lot of young folks in there to do that. So it's very challenging. It's very challenging. And again, and then we fight with the wages. I mean, I joke about our number one competitor being the city of Pensacola because they're vying for some of the same positions we are. I want to be clear, we're partners, not competitors. I want to be clear with that. But we are vying for some of the same positions that they are. But same thing with the private sector. I mean, same thing that you all are going to be dealing with in your elected positions is trying to figure out what's going on, with getting these positions filled, because you're going to be fighting against not just Chick-fil-A and Whataburger,
right,
but other large corporations who are paying more than $15, $16, $17 an hour. And I always tell folks, even on some of our jobs, the manual labor jobs, the roadworks jobs, the county jobs, I mean, they're not glamorous, but they're necessary. And these people are very necessary and very important to keep our county and city running. But anyway, so those are just some of the chats. But I know you guys are going to have some, those are going to be some of the challenges. Is how do you pay for it? How do you pay for it? Where's the money coming from? If it's coming from the people, then like I said, just getting there. So. But yeah, so what do you see, Ashley, just not to put you on the spot, but what do you see one of your biggest challenges that you've got to overcome in, say, the next 90 days?
Ooh, the next 90 days. So the first 6 weeks of that kind of came as a surprise, receiving the appointment on Friday. So we have the 6 weeks that I'm serving, and then we have the election on November 5th. People still need to get out and vote. I still need your votes, so please make sure to do that. And then the swearing in for that would actually be November 19th. So 90 days, I think I want to start making an impact. I laid out 3 priorities that I really wanted to look at, and I think the biggest challenge is just going to be figuring out who's in charge of that, where do we start, how do we tackle these, and getting people on board with that. It's fortunately things that I feel like affects the whole community, not just District 4, so I should be able to get the buy-in of the board to move forward, so hopefully that'll help rally some support. But making sure that our first responders have what they need to respond and that our EMS times are being reduced, that's a big task. So how do you work with that department to make sure that you're having the culture that you need to retain the right employees, and that the employees that don't fit that culture are moving on, the right turnover, right? You want to keep the good employees and invite the not so good employees to find a different job. So how do we work with that department to make that happen? And at the same time, make sure that we're responding to the community when they need us, and then we're reducing those times. That's huge. I think that you would agree that's a priority for the board.
Would, yes.
One of the other things I ran on was making sure that we can do responsible development in the community, getting through permitting and zoning, and making sure that if you want to open up a coffee shop or open up a restaurant, it's a reasonable amount of time to have those plans reviewed so you can provide jobs. And that's every level job, right? So you'll have the servers and the hostess, but you also have restaurant managers, and restaurant managers make really good money. So if we're going to provide those jobs for the community, we have to make that process easier. So where do we start on that, right? So it's a bunch of where do we start and what is our plan?
So same question. Yeah, same question. And I'll get back to you on the whole, the cutting the proverbial red tape with the
yes.
county. So same thing with you, Steve. So I'm not going to say if. Again, power in the word. Amen. When you're elected. We're going to speak positively.
Well, I
prior
think
to it
it's already
happening.
started. I mean, Ashley's probably experiencing the same thing. I've got 3 phone numbers that ring on that single phone that are forwarded there. It's my personal phone. I got a Skype number and then another number that gets forwarded to that. I got 3 email accounts. There's Messenger and Facebook, and everybody's contacting me. I remember when Mike Kohler, Commissioner Kohler was elected, when he first got in the office, we had, I don't know, I said 1,000 the other day, but it's closer to 1,200 emails just waiting for us. People are just coming out of the woodwork. It's a new commissioner, and they want to make contact. So it wasn't that these emails were being neglected. They just showed up all at once because they got somebody new to talk to. So catching up with those is going to be a task, because even keeping up with it now, I've said that, man, we probably need a staff now just to help keep up with these phone calls. But I think that's going to be, I mean, just getting those emails and the new phone, getting our phones and answering all those phone calls is going to be a task. Just doing that, just keeping up with that. I don't know if you got an aide selected yet. I have one right now, and he's helping me, but I'm not letting him answer any phone calls yet. I didn't want to put him through that. I told him the first 6 months is going to be a fire hose, at least the very first 6 months. But it'll settle down, and you'll get your footing, and I'll get my footing, and we got someone coming in to help us to kind of help us set up the office. Someone who's worked with Mike before, who's great. I work with Mike, so I know a little bit about what to expect. But it's just going to be, I think it's going to be keeping up at this point. But priority-wise, OLF8 is always on my mind. I got to be thinking about that. There's other things that are way down the list. Maybe not so far down the list. I mean, I think people are kind of getting used to the Perdido Key roundabout. They're working away around.
How is that going over there? Because I
don't
see
know.
the Facebook post, but there's Facebook and then there's reality, right?
Well, some people are just angry about it, but we're all working through it. I know when I get there, I'm very cautious still too, but we're still working through it. So I just don't think it's something we want to spend money on right now. I don't want to demo the darn thing. I want to make sure we fix it. I know from talking to a developer out there and his engineer that we can make it bigger without encroaching on the beach mouse. So I think we need to make it bigger.
Yeah, watch out for the beach mouse.
That little
man.
brown mouse.
Most
I haven't
expensive
seen one.
Also
rodent in
not
the world.
native to Perdido Key. I think that's worth noting.
I have never seen one. I've never seen
I haven't
one.
seen one either, but by God, they're out there, and
They're out
we've
there.
spent a lot of
I'm
money
sure
on
they're in the tunnels. that run
tunnels. Oh,
underneath
we've
the
made
road,
tunnels and
right?
bridges and little escalators.
Oh, I
Yeah.
think there were tunnels. I think across from
It's like
where
a
was
real
it?
thing.
Yeah, oh, it's
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there were tunnels, and I guess I heard that the tunnels were not a good idea because there were coyotes on the other end of these tunnels gobbling up the mice.
Oh yeah, you gotta watch out for that. That TNT. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there are lots of little projects, but I don't think anything is as important to me as OLF8 at this point.
I got you. Well, to circle back around, on what you were saying about permits and so forth.
Yeah.
I remember I attended an HBA meeting, and I had a lot of the folks, a lot of the members, and I'm a member myself, go, hey, look, Kevin, could we get, can we circle the wagons and either get ECUA in here, and or get some building officials, and I remember Grover at the time was the mayor, good guy, enjoying his retirement, well deserved, earned retirement. And the big thing was like the permitting, the permitting, and of course it was city, but the county's no different. This was focused on the city, but the county's right there with them, and the whole phrase affordable housing, and I think DC's correcting me a couple different times. He's like, it's not affordable, Kevin, it's attainable. I'm like, okay, attainable, affordable, potato, but at any rate. I think you and I had this conversation a few weeks ago about 30% or something along those lines, some percentage, pretty high, above 20 is proverbial red tape,
Yes.
right? It's the process, it's the permitting, it's the staff, it's zoning, it's planning, it's.
Well, and just the things that are nice to have in a neighborhood, but maybe you don't need to have. So somebody said, well, give me an example. And I'm like, well, sidewalks. Sidewalks are really nice to have in a neighborhood, But does every neighborhood have to have them? If
And
it's,
they don't. That's a
and they don't?
luxury around here, isn't
Exactly.
it? Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, is that a place where we can reduce costs and get more people into the home ownership? Maybe.
Well,
What are the other things we can look at right
Well,
now?
it's that and lowering costs, and that's the deal. Like I was fortunate enough to be able to champion along with the other board members. One of the first times in ECOA history, actually not one of the first times, the first time where we were able to waive some tap fees on the tiny home project downtown.
Congratulations
Pensacola,
on that.
which
What a
was-
great
Oh,
project.
it was awesome. It was awesome. And so so that was eliminating some red tape along with some fees to get some folks in there. And you've got folks that have graduated, got too old for some of the welfare systems, and you've got some veterans and so forth. So it's kind of a mix in that village. But the concept was great, getting a job, being a productive members of society,
Right.
The dignity of working, that's huge. And but at the same time, getting the permitting process, it's crazy. I think I'd sent a couple city council individuals were asking me to bid on asking some of our companies to bid on some affordable housing down there. And I was like, look, here's the problem. I mean, I had a large plumbing contractor send me one of my builders a cancellation letter for city projects, and he said basically, we're no longer doing plumbing work for you all in the city because of the cost of that, because of the And I'm like, oh my God, we've never failed so many inspections. And it's not just us; it's multiple ones around there. So where does that cost get passed on to? We had projects that we were building off of Detroit that would be in your affordable, attainable area. Same house, four-sided vinyl house, patio home, nice house, good starter house, solid house. I got a bid for that house for $6,000 for the plumbing. So okay, not bad. Same house, downtown Pensacola was $8,200. So it was like $2,300 more. And I called the plumber up. I'm like, buddy, what's going on? Why is this? Did you miss something? Did we get you the right set of plans? He's like, Kevin, we are factoring in knowing we're going to fail multiple inspections down there. I don't know if it's they're trying to generate additional revenue, short staff, whatever the case is, but those are facts. And that's not just plumbing, that's electrical, that's all the way across the board. So same thing with the county.
Right.
You've got issues in the county where the tail's wagging the proverbial dog, where you've got the staff basically dictating what this gets zoned, that gets zoned, how this gets set up, and so forth, without a tremendous amount of input from the public. So those are challenges. At the end of the day, the buck falls on me. It falls on you. It falls on you to have our staff evaluate those decisions and recommendations. But they're recommendations. The decisions are made by you all ultimately. But yeah, that's the you got me on a hot button on the whole building department and county and city both have some challenges.
So the affordable housing, or attainable, whatever you want to call it.
I still use affordable.
Yeah, whatever it is. What is affordable? I mean,
It's relative, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, what is affordable here? I mean, we're probably more affordable than anywhere else in Florida.
Yeah, I
Here-
think it's 30% of the average median income is what for your monthly payment is what you should be
Right.
at. But back to the firehouse, that also includes your insurance bill.
Yeah.
And so I know there was a neighborhood built in one of the other districts, and it was attainable, affordable housing. But by the time you added the insurance fees in there, because they were not close enough to a fire station, it was no longer attainable. And I think we need to revamp the way that we look at it. I think for so long we looked at affordable housing as the projects, right? And that's just not it. I mean, you have people who are wanting a starter home or that are retiring here. And so it's your kids and it's your grandparents that are buying those houses.
Well, and I always tell folks, I look for solutions, not problems. So I don't want to come off as like complaining about the building departments in the city or the county, because you got some great people there.
Absolutely.
But what's the solution? Is the solution, I believe, maybe more manpower? And so I like to have solutions. And one of the solutions I brought up was, I said, look, and I think Kareth was the city manager at the time, great guy, by the way, and sorry to lose him. But I said, look, Kareth, every one of these builders here, developers here, will chip in an additional $100 per permit. I was like, what? I said, yeah. I said, listen, you need money. We need to pay to get good quality people. So we'll pay for it. We're not asking the city or the county to chalk up any more money that they may or may not have. The private sector will pay for it. If you can guarantee us to expedite these permits in a timely manner, get more inspectors out there, which is going to shorten the building cost, which is going to lower our holding costs, interest payments, and so forth,
Yeah.
which in theory will lower the cost of the house, which will get passed on to the end user, right, for a more affordable, attainable house. Then we will pay for it. Of course, nothing ever came of that. But again, I'm like, you have a problem, short-staffed. I've got a solution. We're going to pay for it. Let's
Right.
just see if we can come together. So.
Well, and I know, so in planning and zoning, there's 5 or 6 open positions, and it's the same in permitting. So there's definitely a gap between the employees that we need and the employees that we have. And so there's the question, okay, can we fill that with technology, or do we need to fill it with people? And if we need to fill it with people, do we need to increase fees so we can pay competitive wages to get those people in there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they definitely are understaffed at the county, and we've kind of been used to working understaffed, I think, and probably all the departments.
Sure.
So,
But I just gave you all an idea. I'm just telling
Yeah,
you.
I love it.
I can't imagine getting any builder, developer, individual
you've
that I
mentioned
know.
this to me before. I've
Yes.
heard this same.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's coming out of you just like it
Absolutely.
came out the last time.
No,
I
and I'm
understand the
serious.
frustration. I
Yeah,
get it. I get it.
And it is. But I'm working on a way. Like I said, you have to have solutions. I'm just like you tell your people. You tell people, come to me. You have a challenge. Great. Come with the corresponding solution,
Right.
and we can discuss it. That's the solution. It's lack of manpower. It's positions. We can get these good people in here. The private sector, typically saves the day. And I think we're happy to do it again. We'll come in and provide that money via increased permit fees, provided with the caveat that the process is more streamlined. Because what you don't want to do is pay additional fees and not have that. So we're about out of time today. First of all, I wanted to thank you guys, for you all for joining me on this show. This is kind of our first podcast. I kind of want to take advantage, of getting you guys together and all of us together really, and just kind of talking about subjects and projects and they're all near and dear to our heart. We all live here, work here, worship here. But again, I just like I said, I appreciate you guys taking me up on my offer and just being able to to be communicative and responsive to the community. I'll ask both you all, probably not together anymore, but to chat with me again and then if you guys got some information you guys want to put out, and then because again as they say, inquiring minds want to know.
Absolutely.
So definitely, and I know you guys are going to do a great job at communicating and talking about the 1,200 emails, and so forth. It's a challenge, but the fact that you're putting forth the effort, I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
So thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next month for another episode of On the Board with Kevin Stevens. God bless and have a great day.